over now to Ruth, who's going to introduce our next presentation.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so next up we've got the Museum of Gloucester. For us judges, we felt that this project was a really great example of our Rethinking Cataloguing and Banishing the Backlog campaigns, and it also reflected this year's theme of celebrating collections management. Covered the ground routes of improving backlog cataloguing to Spectrum standards, addressing errors in existing documentation and undertaking care work to preserve the collection for future. We also admired how the museum had the vision to go beyond the fact-checking and preservation exercise and rethink the collection through the lens of people-centred cataloguing, considering how uniform represents lived experience. The project sees the opportunity to really bring the collection to life by including social history narratives and creating contemporary relevance by involving local artists and opening debate around politics and gender. As the first collections management project undertaken by the museum in 4 years, we were impressed by the scope and imagination of the project, and in particular, the upskilling and the improved confidence that it gave to all the museum and staff and volunteers involved. So I'd like to hand over to Elizabeth and Victoria to take us through the project in a bit more detail.
Hi, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. We are really, really excited to be here today. So I'm Elizabeth, I'm the Museum Collections Officer, and this is Victoria, who is our Museum Project Officer. So we are Museum of Gloucester. We're run by Gloucester City Council, so we're a local authority run museum telling kind of the story of the city. We have about 750,000 objects, which covers everything from archaeology to natural history to numismatics, art, social history, from prehistory to modern day. So quite a large collection to deal with.
We thought it'd be useful to share a bit about the documentation issues and the backlog we faced going into the project. So all of our different collection areas were previously managed very separately. They each had individual curators and they had an individual approach to absolutely everything, from cataloguing to numbering to filing. Absolutely everything was different. So we're at a point where we're trying to bring all of that together. It sounds dramatic to say that we're drowning in paperwork, but we really are. And I'm sure many of you will know that some of those files have incredibly useful and insightful information inside that you can't find anywhere else, but others are also empty or filled with duplicate information or redundant information. There's also no filing system, so no coherent system, and we have filing cabinets all over the building, so physically locating files is also a challenge. And unfortunately it's a similar situation with our electronic files. So again, no file structure was ever put in place, so again, locating files is difficult. And because we have different approaches to the numbering of files, even the search functions on the electronic file systems are not reliable. We do have a collections management system. So the Museum of Gloucester has been using modes for over 25 years, but unfortunately it's never become a fully utilised system. There's just some examples of some of the records that we have on our modes. And as you can see, the information is very limited, very sparse. There's different approaches to numbering. The associations are very rarely filled in, and when they are, they're not detailed enough. It's a bit difficult to see, but on one of those it does say belong to the husband of the donor, which is something that we quite often find where in the cataloguing process the name of the owner of the object hasn't even been recorded. So that's just a small insight into the modes records that we have. And then just to add an extra challenge going into this project, that Gloucester City Council was actually the victim of a fairly serious cyber incident. So our access to modes and our electronic files was actually removed for 12 months while they were recovering that. So yeah, we had a bit of a challenge going into this project.
So this project for us was funded, so it's funded by Arts Council England and South West Museum Development. And for us, we had quite a few different aims that we wanted to achieve with it. It was about promoting and increasing access to the costume collection, which needed improved care after not being assessed or for many years, and it was very poorly stored and largely inaccessible as well. We wanted to promote a very positive narrative about the folk collection decant and inventory project. So we are in the process of moving 25 25,000 objects from a former museum to new storage, and combining that with the Museum of Gloucester's collection as a whole. And this project for us was also about kind of reducing that kind of the myths and the kind of reducing the confusion over the status and management of our social histories collection. We also wanted to research the costume collection, understand where the gaps were, and improve the quality of the records for future use. We specifically wanted to do people-centred cataloguing. We wanted to explore how uniforms represented lived experience and how we could capture that information for future, as well as for the exhibition itself. We wanted to update and ensure that our existing records are accurate and up to date, so that we are at least meeting the minimum standards set out by Spectrum and accreditation standards. We also wanted to create a new documentation plan and new acquisitions process to address the learnings from this project as a whole. Upskilling the collections team and volunteers was also really important to us. We are a relatively new team at the museum, in that although a few of us have worked in heritage for a while, as a team, we've only been working together for about 3 years. So it was really important to be able to share that kind of knowledge and skills between us, and also expand that to the engagement and learning team, as well as our front of house team. We wanted to create new and strengthen existing partnerships with individuals, communities, and important stakeholders within the City of Gloucester. And particularly, we wanted to encourage our residents, and particularly young people, to take pride in Gloucester's history and heritage, and engage them about the importance of the museum collections, what is missing, and what we can collect going forward to ensure that we are representing the city as a whole. So what did we actually do? So the ultimate goal was put on an exhibition called Buttons, Badges and Blazers, Uniforms from the Gloucester City Costume Collection. That ran from the 21st of October to the 7th of January. It included 20 fully mounted costumes, as well as numerous other objects displayed alongside 2 contemporary commissions and an accompanying engagement programme. So in order to create this, over 230 costumes and accessories were fully inventoried, checked, cleaned, frozen to remove any pest infestations, and repacked for transport and long-term storage. We completed full condition assessments as well, including individual photographs, and that was all done by our collections team and volunteers. Over 100 costume records were individually researched, updated and enhanced, meaning that they've been taken beyond that purely fact-gathering exercise and creating full records that will be used for many years beyond this project.
So the need to create some engaging and accurate interpretation really gave us the opportunity to address some of the issues with our records and look at how we can rethink cataloguing and records enhancements going forward. I could literally talk to you about this all afternoon, but we won't. So we've picked a couple examples that were really important to us. So when researching a donation of several school uniforms and a Cub Scout uniform, we managed to track down the original entry form, and that had some lovely reference photographs, particularly of Scout groups, but there was no copyright or terms of use information with any of those images. Another staple of our documentation issues that we are battling. But there was also a funny little note on the record about making sure that we didn't publicise this donation. And it was that sort of triggered us to realise that these items actually belong to Ian Dench. Now, many of you may know that Ian is actually one of the founding members of the band, the 90s band EMF. They sang the Unbelievable song, which I won't sing for you all because everyone at the museum is sick of me singing that song. So luckily, we've got some colleagues at the Gloucester Guildhall, which is an excellent live events venue if you ever get a chance to visit. And they were able to track down the band's management company. So literally within days, I was actually on the phone to Ian and was able to chat to him. And he was so supportive of this project. He had no idea that his mum had donated all these uniforms to the museum, but he was so thrilled to bits. So he actually agreed to come to the museum on one of his visits to Gloucester when he was going to see his mum. And we had a wonderful afternoon where we showed him the uniforms and we had a really good chat. We were actually able to interview him And he spoke so passionately about his experiences, particularly about his school experience and how the teachers that inspired him to get into music, but also about his participation in the Cub Scout gang shows and how they gave him confidence, but also how he used to keep the subs so he could get fish and chips on the way home and not tell his mum. So we managed to record all these, this interview as well. So we managed to have that as audio-visual content for the exhibition, but we were also able to use that on our socials. And we were also, I'm really happy to say, involved Shauna, who was our apprentice at the time, who's brilliant at filming and social media. So it was a great opportunity for her to use her skills as well. And her mum is a big EMF fan, so I think she got extra brownie points for that. And really, a really great unforeseen advantage that came from this research into these items was that Ian then decided to donate his EMF t-shirt, which is the tie-dye t-shirt you can see in the images. So this is the t-shirt that he wore in the original Unbelievable music video in the 90s, which was actually filmed at the Gloucester Guildhall. So quite relevant to Gloucester, but also really helps us to start filling those gaps in our collection. So we were really pleased to be able to add that into the exhibition, but also as a sort of jumping off point to talk to our visitors about contemporary collecting and what we should be collecting going forward and how to make it more relevant to Gloucester. So the next item I'd like to talk to you about is this beautiful 1970s district nurse and midwife uniform, possibly the most coveted coat in the entire exhibition. I'm surprised it didn't go wandering. So this belonged to the wonderful Iris, who I have to say it's been an absolute pleasure to get to know Iris during this project. So as we started to research this item, we tracked down again the original entry form and found again some amazing reference photography that had no copyright or terms of use information, but we really wanted to use them in the exhibition. So as Iris had actually only donated her uniform in the early 2000s, we took a punt and decided to just phone the number on the entry form. And I don't know who was more shocked when she answered the phone, her or me. I'm pretty sure she thought I was a scam artist at first, but soon after we were getting on like a house on fire. And she was so excited to be included in this exhibition and so proud and so really pleased that the uniform was actually going to be seen and used. So she actually managed to track down additional items that she still had. So her fetal stethoscope, her original belt, some badges and more photographs. And she actually lent us those so we could use them to enhance the display that we had. And again, like with Ian, interviewing her was a real privilege. You know, we really got to learn more about her experience of working in Gloucester during that time, which we would never have got from a bit of paper. So again, it was a real privilege. And not only did she provide us with more information about her uniform, but she was actually also able to offer insight into the other nursing outfits and uniforms that we had in the collection. So really giving us a special insight into those other items in our collection as well. And another unforeseen advantage of this work was that we were really able to benefit from Iris's enthusiasm for this project. She essentially promoted this exhibition for us within her local community. She went into her grandchildren's schools and spoke about it. She spoke about it in the nursing community of which she's still a part of. So it was really lovely to benefit from her enthusiasm and excitement. So much that I'm surprised the marketing team didn't give her a job, to be honest. She was doing a great job. So just quickly to tell you about Colin, because we didn't actually track down all the people that we were able to feature in the exhibition. So this is Colin's uniform. It was one of the more filled out modes records that we had to work with, but again, it was full of errors. Luckily though, we were able to track down a Pearson family archive within Gloucestershire Archives. So we worked with the team there and we were able to build a complete biography of Colin, and we were able to find this photograph of him in his military uniform, which we were able to use in the exhibition, which really added to the whole, to the interpretation all about Colin.
I'll just finish up on some learnings if you're okay to do the next slide. Thank you. So banishing the backlog can be done by incorporating into our other activities. Just take it bit by bit is what we'd say. It's time consuming, but so worthwhile. So much more can come from the research, not just improved records, but new opportunities, new procedures, new friends and partners. As a whole, the exhibition opened debates for us about identity, politics and gender and their place within uniforms. It also included lone objects that share the stories of people not typically represented by our collections, specifically LGBTQIA+ and women. It's given us such a great understanding of how the museum can collect objects that share the stories and not shy away from controversial subjects. Museums are not neutral. It increased our confidence as a team. It increased confidence by stakeholders and sector professionals, and also kind of shared that we do really hold important collections for everyone. And it massively combined paper and digital files, resolved multiple historic issues and created some great frameworks for future projects as well. So it's demonstrated that prioritising collections management and enhanced cataloguing at the point of acquisition, including those emotional and sensory experiences of the donor, can banish the backlog and create meaningful, powerful engagement that allows visitors, stakeholders and staff to connect. Thank you very much.
Thank you both, much appreciated. That was really interesting. Thank you.